this afternoon's distinguished visitor has a program to offer that is devoted to two of our world's most beloved composers, Chopin and Schubert. Poor Chopin, so popular that he has been the subject of incredibly sappy paintings, such as this, for nearly 2 centuries, and several absolutely dreadful movies. So great was his genius that he deserved far better. Unlike the works of his many fellow romantics, Chopin's drew the admiration of almost everyone, the public in particular, at both general and high society levels. His was the taste never to be vulgar, ever to set standards for others in matters of refinement of expression. As an example of this wonder, the piece heard today in first position bears the simple title of a fairly ordinary idea, the touristy Venetian gondolier's song for a pair of lovers. Let's look into it. The Barcarolle is a large piece based on the simple premise of a Venetian boat song. Chopin played it in 1848 during his last performance in Paris. The Gazette Musicale declared it an experience that had no equal in our earthly realm. He worked on it for a year and had difficulties, even on the final page, as you can see, with an ending so extravagant that he almost couldn't crowd all the notes onto the bottom of the page. The great virtuoso Karl Tausig called it a love scene in a discreet gondola with tender dialogue, kisses, and embraces evident in the dualism of 2 notes. All is too voiced, too souled. Behind this description lies a subtle musical process which unites some variation techniques with elements of sonata form, as Chopin invents a form of his own to express knowledge of the life our feelings have beyond the scope of any gently rocking boat song. Early in the 20th century, Maurice Ravel found these words to describe the music. The theme, in thirds, supple and delicate, is constantly clothed in dazzling harmonies. The melodic line is continuous. One moment, an idea breaks free, hangs suspended, and falls softly drawn down by magic chords. The intensity builds, a new theme appears, one of magnificent lyricism, completely Italian. All grows quiet. From the depths arises a shimmering passage which soars on precious, tender harmonies. We dream a mysterious apotheosis. That's an astonishing passage. Think about it. A dream and a mystery. Pure romanticism at its best. When the great Barcarolle is over, Mr. Carroccia will offer us another locale for associations, one altogether different, which spurred Chopin's musical imagination. And here's the story. At age 14, Chopin was taken into the Polish countryside, where he fell in love with an ancient folk dance of the most captivating rhythm, the mazur. Here's its background.
Mazur, or as it was called in France, Mazurka, originated in the 16th century Poland. It was adopted at the royal court of King Sigismund III, and by early 17th century became popular in the ballrooms and courts of England, France, and Germany. Nonetheless, Mazurka remained a folk dance enjoyed in Poland's countryside through centuries and to this day.
Pozostał polskim tańcem ludowym, bardzo popularnym I lubianym na
When at the age of 14, Chopin first traveled the countryside of central Poland, he was overwhelmed by the dance, the richness of its music, and its openness to free improvisation. In fact, Mazurka has no preset figures. and it offers the dancers a choice of some 50 different steps.
You should know that coloring the performance of Mazur by peasants, there is an interesting instrument, the Polish bagpipe. Its drone and curious scale inspired sections here and there in Chopin's original mazurkas. He even specifically evoked the instrument sound in an early mazurka. The first ones are simple, straightforward, joyous, endlessly intriguing to Western European ears in the 1830s. They'd never heard the like. Chopin was clever in adapting this national dance to his manner of playing and composing. Sometimes he'd allow these new mazurkas to seem just a trifle exotic, but not too much so, or he'd turn them into slow, somehow ancient-sounding evocations, and other sorts completely different. With more than 50 mazurkas to his credit, eventually there must have been something unique that writing them allowed him to express. Let's listen to an explanation.
I love mazurkas because they are the most beautiful pieces of music on earth. This rare combination that on one hand is so much lyricism and on the other hand it is a dance. And the balance between the dance and the lyricism is something outstanding. If you take this mazurka from the very beginning, starting with the octave, so much yearning, so much longing, because in the beginning there is this longing for what? We don't know, just longing for love or loving for longing. And it is one octave, descending, ascending, and octave is maybe the longest possible interval, and yet the shortest interval is from myself to myself, and this is actually my journey, and then start the real melody. And already in this melody you have maybe the 4 stages of mind of mazurka writer. First of all is this yearning, pleading, then hoping maybe something good will come, then start to revolt, and then the last one already into fortissimo. And there is a poison word in the Polish language which is żal, and żal could be resignation, giving up, bad, hopeless. But żal could be also revolt, not accepting, fighting against. And if you understand żal, then you understand what happens here, because everything is żal. This is żal. And this
Before you met the concept of żal, you heard an assertion that Chopin's mazurkas are the most beautiful pieces of music on earth. Did you think it preposterous? Can we ever really know what this means? Meaning is in the mind, in each of our minds. Liszt wrote, Chopin repeated this word over and over again as if his ear could not be sated by the sound of its expression, containing the full range of feeling. The same set of stimuli can result in altogether different meanings for each of us. In Mr. Carroccia's group of 6 mazurkas, which spans as many opuses, you will hear incomparably elegant ones and others that boisterously betray their peasant origins. The range between these extremes will be obvious as you feel the shifting moods that Chopin brings into existence. The program's first half We'll end with what may be Chopin's most recognized dance-inspired piece, the great A-flat Polonaise, the manuscript of which shows that, as in the case of the Barcarolle, not all of it fit easily onto Chopin's page. Look at the lower right-hand corner. Here's the layout of the A-flat Polonaise, sometimes called heroic. What you should realize is that the simple dance itself consists of a Polonaise, a contrasting central part called the trio, and then a repetition of the Polonaise. But Chopin has here taken the form and expanded it by writing an introduction to the Polonaise itself. The trio which follows has a transition from it back to a shortened version of the Polonaise, and then a very grand coda. It always evokes strong reactions, as witness just three famous people's statements. The pianist Alfred Cortot called it a veritable apotheosis of patriotic sentiment in which Poland is viewed as liberated. One seems to hear in it the ring of Damascene sword and silver spur. It exhibits a cleaving brilliancy that excites the blood to boiling pitch. To 19th century romantic ears, the central trio's famous left-hand octaves, storming to two climaxes, suggested the charge into battle of Poland's hussar cavalry, hence the nickname you saw earlier, heroic. I invite Luigi Carroccia to the piano, to the Steinway for the Barcarolle, 6 Mazurkas, and the heroic Polonaise by Chopin.